and they have this one to start off with. Subsidy removal. It says, marketers in limbo over implementation. $15.1 billion FX demand for fuel importation. That story is on page 6. Just before getting there, I've been joined in the studio by an editor, 21st Century Chronicle, and former assistant editor of Daily Trust, Nuruddin Abdallah, is here in the studio with us. And Nuruddin, real quick, what do you think of that headline? Subsidy removal, marketers in limbo over implementation, and $15.5 billion forex demand for fuel importation.
I think, the fuel subsidy removal is coming with a lot of issues. This is just one of the issues. That's the marketer side. You remember there is already that loan that is creating 800 million grant from the CBN and from the World Bank. I think the incoming administration, has to decide all these issues that are accumulating. So many interests. We have been with fuel subsidy, which is adjudged to be not managed transparently. Even among some of the top government officials, is it the customs, is it the NNPC, there are conflicting figures over these issues. So I think maybe the incoming administration has to really sit down and look at the public interest, not the marketers' interest, on the best way to address this issue of
because it's like a how do you say that? A fish bone that's stuck in your throat.
Exactly. And the CBN for a very long time has cut them from accessing the forest at official rate. So now they want to revert back to that status quo. So I think the incoming administration is in the best position to deal with this thing once and for all.
Okay, staying with The Guardian, this other story. I'm unencumbered by scandals. Atiku replies Tinubu's serial loser jab. And then court strikes out EFCC suit against Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello over asset forfeiture. And deaths delay infrastructure frustration on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road repair. Deaths delay frustration on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road repairs. Again, that matter of infrastructure and roads construction, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has been in the conversations for so long.
Yeah, I think recently, if you are to content analyze the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Tunde Fashola, he has spoken about that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, particularly the completion date, almost every other week. And we understand the situation. Our lenders, particularly the Chinese, are not that forthcoming. That's what happened to Kano, Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano road. They are almost going concurrently with the Lagos-Ibadan. So, but I think maybe what the new administration should do is that repair has taken so long. You are not building, it's not Lagos to Maiduguri, or Lagos to Sokoto, or Lagos to Kano. It's Lagos-Ibadan, for heaven's sake. But in the last 8 years of Buhari's administration, that has been a recurring dismal
conversation.
So please, let's get over this once and for all, whatever it takes, so that the issue of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, closing it for this, closing it, giving all manner of explanations, should end once and for all, so that we move forward to other issues.
Okay, and that's it from The Guardian. Hiya.
Well, we moved to Daily Independent from The Guardian newspaper this morning, and of course it leads with that story that has been of some concern over the past few days in the country. FG hires 40 buses at $1.2 million to move Nigerians to Egypt, and as though that were, topical, or the amount itself, was a bit, having some sort of a question mark. All the other papers also have it as their lead story. And it was interesting to see the Minister of Foreign Affairs, provide some form of explanation. But let's take a look at the riders. At last, begins evacuation of stranded citizens, says no Nigerian has died in war-ravaged Sudan. And we hope that it stays that way. But perhaps you could speak to, the process itself and this amount. Surely no amount is too much, to spend on this process to ensure that Nigerian citizens are protected and to let them know that their lives are, valued. Mr. Abdallah.
I think, yes, please. The $1.2 million for the bus fare from Khartoum to the border in Aswan in Egypt, despite what the social media people are saying, it's not much per se. And, we are dealing with bureaucrats. At least the money has been approved. And as of yesterday, the buses have already, some of the buses have started moving from Khartoum to the Egyptian border. Whatever it is, I saw some people calculating how many buses. They say 40. So how many trips will they do? They say it takes about 50 hours between Khartoum to the Egyptian Aswan, the Egyptian border with Egypt. Our prayers actually is this: let every Nigerian living in Sudan ferry to Egypt and back to our country safely. I think that's more important, and that's why, there is not so much outcry from the government. At least the government has responded to the cries of our stranded people in Sudan.
Well, there are quite a number of other stories on the front page of Daily Independent that are just as important this morning. Herdsmen killed 2 soldiers, 15 villages in Benue communities. That security concern is also continuing, and we hope that security operatives rein in on the situation there, and the incoming administration has its work cut out for it. Also, at the bottom strip of the Daily Independent, unlike Tinubu, I have no drug case, dual citizenship scandal. That's ascribed to the PDP presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Let's leave it there for Daily Independent.
The leadership newspaper this morning is interested in what happens after May 29. And look at the headline of the paper, a leadership newspaper this morning. National Assembly, Tinubu APC leaders meet to decide on zoning. That story is on page 4. House caucus presents zoning template. Orji Kalu, Zanizo, Apabio, Barao, others besiege president-elect's residence. Ex-lawmakers caution against zoning along executive lines. But Mr. Abdallah, looking at this, it would seem like already with the election of the president and vice president, we seem to have shattered a kind of glass ceiling. Do you see the same upset happening in the National Assembly?
Yeah, Mr. Ayon, not really, particularly, the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is an experienced politician, when compared to, let's say, the outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari. And I believe he is sensitive to the ethno-religious nature of the country. So unlike what Buhari did in 2015, that he doesn't have an interest in whoever becomes the Senate President or the Speaker or their deputies, I don't think that the President-elect Tinubu will toe that line, particularly bearing in mind the ethnic coloration of the last election. The Northwest, as you see, are conversing for the third position in the country with all their arguments, gave the president-elect the highest vote and what have you. But there are other salient issues ethnicity is one, religion is one, particularly with the Muslim ticket we already have on the ground. So Tinubu, unlike Buhari, is an experienced politician, and if God spares our life, he may seek re-election in the next couple of elections.
Maybe we should even, Mr. Abdallah, maybe we should even be done with this first term, and then we can hope for a second one at the end. Generally, I mean, that point is noted. One just wonders how significantly that will play on governance. But look at the story right under the headline, the nameplate. Subsidy removal, CSO's kick against $800 million World Bank loan. What's your take on that? We are borrowing money to palliate savings. I don't get it. Do you?
The incoming administration will be faced with this very serious matter. It is a situation whereby between the devil and the deep blue sea. We can't continue, like he said in some of his campaign tours, we can't continue with the 4 trillion subsidy every year. You understand? And the other side is, they say if you remove subsidy, the price of PMS per liter will jack up to above 500. So if the first litmus test for President Tinubu after May 29, you understand. And already, they were trying to cushion the effect by borrowing this money. But the CSOs are already kicking against it. Who knows? NLC and others will join the queue. So I think it's one of the things that will shape the Tinubu's presidency the moment he takes over May 29, how he tackles this subsidy removal, looking at the various interests.
All right, let's continue to look at the papers, and Daily Trust is the next one here. And we have National Dynamics, vote delivery to determine NAS leadership. Ooh. And see the writers, Tinubu, Shetima, APC leaders hold maiden meeting. Push for Northwest, Southeast Senate presidency intensifies. Ruling party walking on tight rope. Harry. That story continues on page 4. But hear this. National Dynamics vote delivery to determine NAS leadership. I mean, that's... You're laughing already. How's that working out as against the rules of the House that says they will also...
Yeah. So, you see, the president-elect is a very special way of addressing things. They were suggesting not long ago, government of national unity. He said, no, I am talking about government of national competence. And now to the National Assembly leadership. So, like I just mentioned some moments ago, how Tinubu handles the national leadership recruitment process will go a long way in shaping his presidency. I don't think he will do what Buhari did in 2015. He said, no, I don't care who becomes the... But on the day of the inauguration, he summoned a meeting of the APC stakeholders. And you know what happened? Senator Saraki emerged.
If a government of national competence, how does that relate with National Dynamics vote delivery to determine NAS leadership?
There are two issues here. Vote delivery. There are some zones that are already canvassing for the Senate presidency based on the fact that they donated the highest vote to the APC, to the presidential candidate. And now, talking about the national dynamic, Muslim, is it another Muslim? So that's the dilemma. But like I said, he's an experienced politician, and I believe he should be sensitive to the feelings of all Nigerians.
All right, back to you, Buki and Ayo.
Well, we hope that that will be the case and nothing will change in the new administration. Our next stop now is the Nigerian News Direct, and of course it also leads with, the story, big story of the Sudan crisis, and this is the way it's captioned. FG spends $1.2 million to evacuate 2,400 Nigerians to Cairo by bus, and he blames security reasons for huge costs. That's the big story. Above the nameplate, you find this one. Two former governors behind Pull Him Down scheme that the Ogun government alleging. Just in case you're interested, you find details on page 2. But there are other stories at the bottom strip, and there's one that concerns everyone. Banana Island, Lagos begins removal of illegal structures. And I'd just like you to comment on this amid other stories of building collapses across the country. We had one over the weekend also from Ibadan. What do you think, the incoming administration can do in terms of, putting in place standards in the profession for practitioners and ensuring that they adhere to it, such that it will be reduced to a barest minimum in the coming years?
Yes, I think it's the issue of building collapse is more of political will than even the professional standard. Take Lagos issue, for instance. Take Banana Island. Banana Island is not Ajegunle or one Oshodi or some of the suburbs of Lagos. It's a highbrow area. The people constructing these skyscrapers are big people, maybe in government or even outside of it. So it is the political will that whoever is, Governor Shaun should ensure that whoever is building must adhere to the rules. That's the only way to go about it. But unfortunately, if you look at it, most of it, a person will be given a permit to build 5-story building. He will end up building 20, and nobody cares about what he does until the tragedy struck. So it's more of a political will. And it is the situation in all other parts of the country. Some big people with money seems to be above the municipality laws. They erect whatever they want to. They cut corners. And at the end of the day, there will be tragedy and we'll all be crying. So it's more of a political will than even the issue of current or other professional will. I think maybe the next president will have to look at that and ensure that whoever is involved should be dealt with. There should be penalty, I think, for all those things. That will put an end to it.
Indeed, Mr. Abdallah, the political will is very critical at this point in time, and we hope that that will be sustained. Let's leave it there for the Nigerian News Direct, and perhaps that ends the newspaper review segment. I will begin with our first leg of the conversation. That will be after this break. Stay with us.